Hey, what's up? It's Jason. I'm back again with another video. I'm still a little bit under the weather, so excuse the voice, but came here to do another tag for 2025. This one is going to be the soundtrack tag for 2025. I wasn't really even aware that there was a soundtrack tag, but I guess in the past there has been. This year it is being launched, if you will, by Boz over at That Vinyl channel. So he's dove into it and given us 13 questions to fill out for 2025 already. But as I'm filming this is not 2025 yet. I still want to do my end of year best finds, but I have done my best of 2024. So if you haven't checked that out, do check it out. So I do have a fair amount of soundtracks, not a huge amount compared to the overall collection or anything, but maybe like 20, 30 pretty solid soundtracks in the collection. Do collect quite a bit of 80s stuff, whether it's more 80s pop, synth pop, or hardcore punk, of course. You'll see a little bit of that in some of the selections. So let's kick into it with number one. Favorite movie soundtrack purchase of 2025. Actually picked up at least like two or three soundtracks this past year. Couple that were used. This one was brand new. This is a reissue of a movie that I absolutely love since I was a kid, and I've been looking for the OG pressing of this for quite some time. I have seen an OG press, but it was running towards $80 to $100. I might still pull the trigger on that this upcoming year. But for now, I got to settle for this repress. And this is actually kind of a bootleg repress, too. It's on this label called Survival Research. Came out in 2024. Not exportable to the United States. Luckily, I don't live in the United States, at least not yet, anyway. And this movie was all in the States. Classic punk rock movie from the 80s, Suburbia. One of the first movies I saw with punks in it. And like I said, when we were young, we used to dub this movie over and over on VHS. We used to record the live recordings from it. There's only actually three bands on this thing, all on side A, and then side B is an original score by Alex Gibson. So and that original score is not bad either, but DI, TSOL, and the Vandals are the three bands on here, and they each get like a couple tracks that they do live in the movie. Just really killer stuff. I was almost like this age, basically, when I first heard this movie or saw this movie and heard the soundtrack. But yeah, again, this is just sort of a quick repress bootleg copy. It looks like just black labels. It does the trick for now, but like I said, I would love to get an OG copy. Maybe this year. Maybe it'll happen. Number two, the last soundtrack to date that you bought in 2024. Well, I think it was something I got used through Discogs on a techno order. It was this record. I don't think I was even aware that this was a soundtrack or soundtrack related. This is a group, a collective, if you will, from New York City called Black Rain. They have a bunch of international members as well. And this compilation is called Now I'm Just a Number, Soundtracks 1993 to 94. And it's on Blackest Ever Black out of the UK. Cool comp. This came out in 2012. Material, as it says, is from the 90s. Yeah. That's what it looks like. Black Rain. It's a pickup in 2024. So you might be wondering, what is the music or the sounds for in terms of soundtrack? Well, one of them is really an audiobook, so I'm not sure that qualifies as a soundtrack, but it is music that was composed for Neuromancer, William Gibson, Time Warner audiobook in 1994, and also some sounds, audio, etc. composed for the movie Johnny Mnemonic. Robert Lango movie on TriStar Pictures 1995. So William Gibson's Neuromancer and Johnny Mnemonic soundtrack, if you will. Soundtrack sounds from Black Rain. Cool pickup. Definitely for 2024. A soundtrack you own more than one copy of. Well, I didn't have my Flashdance close by, but I definitely have a couple copies of that. Also have a couple copies of this for sure. Huge Marauder fan. This is a classic in his many soundtracks that he did in the 80s. This is Cat People. Giorgio Moroder doing the score, doing the songs. Lots of cool shit on this thing. Um, yeah, it's all Moroder. There's nothing else. But the Cat People putting out fire, I guess, is the beginning. Arena's theme, the Autopsy, Night Rabbit. This is a Canadian press. Yeah, on MCA. Looks like I got it for a whole $1. So yeah, you often see this pretty cheap out there in the wild. Definitely worth picking up if you see it. Next, pick a favorite genre or soundtrack from that genre. Well, definitely related to Marauder. I'm going to go with synth-related movie soundtracks and synth artists. Um, starting off with the OG of them all, Walter Carlos, aka Wendy Carlos. Now, soundtrack, a recreation, if you will, I think, of Clockwork Orange, of Kubrick's Clockwork Orange. Pretty cool. Classic record that a lot of people show and have in their collection. Again, some more Marauder stuff, Midnight Express. Maurice Jarre, I think it's Jean-Michel Jarre's son, maybe, related. This has got some synth kind of sounds, Harrison Ford movie. Or Mike Oldfield doing The Killing Fields, heavy movie. Of course, Tangerine Dream also did some great soundtrack work. So again, I collect a lot of these synth-related, synthwave, ambient, etc. movie soundtracks. And last one I'll show in that genre is Johnny Yes No. Kind of obscure film from the 80s. This one done by Cabaret Voltaire, one of my favorite synth industrial bands of all time. So that's a cool flick. Cool soundtrack. Next up, number 5, show a score from your collection any year. Several scores. I'll show a punk and a metal related movie soundtrack. Of course, UKDK, the ultimate in punk soundtracks right here. This is a documentary actually on the UK punk scene in the early 80s. It includes some bands that started in the 70s, like The Damned is on here. But also you got The Business, Chaos UK, The Addicts, and Exploited. Angelic Upstarts, Vice Squad. I mean, it's just totally jam-packed. This, along with Suburbia, were big introduction to punk rock music for me. We used to have this, you could rent this, I think, the VHS for this thing. This is on Fringe product out of Toronto back in the 80s. UKDK. This is a definite score find for me. I loved having used to have this when I was a kid, and then I had to track it down. The OG, Canadian Press. And also very good soundtrack, music-wise. And cool ass movie too, River's Edge. This was a cool find. I think I got this on Discogs. It's on Roadrunner Records. And just check out the photos there. You got some Slayer in the house. This is a killer soundtrack. Slayer, Fate's Warning, Hallows Eve, Agent Orange doing some like surf punk stuff, and the Wipers as well. And then if you look on the track listing alone, you got 3 tracks from Slayer on this thing. Capture of Sin, Die by the Sword, Evil Has No Boundaries. This is a must-have for any 80s metal thrash fan. 2 definite scores. Based on a pressing date, the oldest soundtrack in your collection. I almost grabbed like an old MGM movie. I think it's a movie soundtrack, but it might be like a compilation of songs. But I decided to go with this one, which is from 1970, OG Press, and it's a copy of Performance, which starred Mick Jagger, of course. He doesn't sing much on this record. I think he sings on one song, but the whole thing is done by Jack Anici. And this movie is pretty cool, pretty out there, kind of psychedelic and weird, dark at times. Best way to describe it, I guess. Yeah, there's a vocal by Randy Newman on this thing, too. But yeah, just a really cool soundtrack, too. So Performance, 1970 pressing, 1970 movie. Original or remake is next. Oh, no. I'm jumping way ahead. Number 7, I Feel Pretty show, cool color splatter vinyl. Turns out I got a few records in here that are color vinyl, but that are soundtracks. But only one soundtrack that is actually a splatter vinyl, and I'm not sure I would call it pretty or good because I'm not a fan of colored vinyl. But picked up this killer reissue of Return of the Living Dead. Amazing soundtrack. I really want to get the OG now of this. But for now, the reissue will suffice. I think this was actually a record store day release on a pink splatter vinyl, but I want to talk about what's on it too, right? The Damned, Tall Boys, SSQ, Rocky Erickson, TSOL, 45 Grave, The Flesh Eaters, and The Cramps. So another stacked punk lineup, if you will, for that movie. Classic horror movie, and here is the vinyl. See-through, transparent, splatter. I guess it kind of matches. Kind of goes with the theme with the sort of blood and pink. Pink and blood splatter vinyl. Number 8, show a 7-inch soundtrack movie-related vinyl. I pulled 1 7 in here. I probably have a million 87 inches that are songs featured in movies, etc. But this one is definitely iconic. I'm going to go with Eye of the Tiger. Just rocking this earlier, actually, today. Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. Everybody knows it. And, of course, we all know it from Rocky. Was it Rocky 2 or Rocky 3 that they played this track? Does it even say on here? Not really. This is a 1981 release. 1982. Survivor. Eye of the Tiger. Favorite soundtrack album artwork. I'm going to go with another soundtrack that I got this year that I really dig. And I didn't actually even know. I think when I picked it up, I wasn't even sure if this was really a movie or if it was just kind of like one of those things where they make a soundtrack to a movie that wasn't created. But it is actually a movie. It's just a newer movie, and I tend to only watch old retro movies, anything before 2000. But in 2021 came out this pretty cool horror movie called The Seed. Horror / adventure sci-fi movie. The score is by Lucretia Dalt. Excellent, like ambient experimental music, and the cover is pretty cool too. All this red, and it even carries through to like the center labels. So yeah, I think the movie's like these 2 chicks that go to the desert, and then some aliens and ghoulishness happens. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I do want to see it. It's on my to-do list. Got this used and near mint condition. Artwork continuing on again. So yeah, that's my pick for coolest artwork of a soundtrack. It's also a 2024 pickup. Kind of curious to see what soundtracks I end up picking up in 2025. There's still a few like old school gems out there that I'm looking for, and then new stuff. Number 10, original or remake, show one of each. Well, this one I have to cheat a little bit because I don't really have the OGs of these, but I thought I would just show a couple of represses, reissues, if you will. One of them being this, Touch of Evil reissue. Classic film and film noir. This was a 2015 reissue of the movie. Black vinyl. That's kind of cool. Not that I would ever see an OG copy of Touch of Evil, but it could happen. You never know. Imagine stumbling upon that someday in a Value Village or a thrift store. Or how about this awesome reissue? Charles Bronson, In the Bushes. This is a movie, Città Violenta, The Violent City. Ennio Morricone doing the soundtrack. I mean, this is just classic shit. This is on Dago Red, Italian label. Pretty nice reissue. I got this in Europe, actually, when I was over there shopping one year. And the vinyl also has green vinyl, and also has Charles Bronson's face and Charles Bronson on the center labels too. Città Violenta. I don't know if I've seen Violent City, Charles Bronson. Probably have. don't remember. Wouldn't be a bad time to pull out some Bronson movies right about now for the holidays. Always good fun. Next up, number 11. A couple more to go here, guys. Number 11, show any 90s soundtrack you wish you had. Naked Lunch, I think, is what I was going to show for 1990s. Whoa. Yeah, this is one I have on CD, but I would like to get it on vinyl, actually, too, from the 90s. One of my favorite movies. David Cronenberg movie, Naked Lunch. VHS here. I also have the DVD somewhere, too, but yeah. Classic Burroughs novel turned into movie. It's surreal and bizarre and classic Cronenberg. Movie score is pretty cool too by Howard Shore. The track listing all kind of follows along the movie storyline. Dr. Benway, Ballad Joan, Nothing is True, Welcome to Nexia, the Interzone Suite. Yeah, very cool soundtrack. Wouldn't mind getting that on vinyl too. Show a favorite 80s soundtrack too while I'm at it. That would be the original Hairspray by John Waters, another one of my favorite directors. This one is a sort of a more tame John Waters film compared to his earlier stuff with Pink Flamingos, etc. But Divine is also in this movie, along with Ricky Lake, Jerry Stiller, Sonny Bono. I don't know why they would even do a remake of this movie because the classic has so many good actors and it's just perfectly done. But yeah, this was a pretty cool find recently. Got this through Discogs, I think. Discogs order. It's got the Gong song on here, etc. But yeah, there's a killer 1980s pick. 12, a bargain bin find. I did not find that last one in a bargain bin. That was a little bit more pricey. But here is a great bargain bin find. I'm not sure even where I found this thing because it doesn't have any horrible Value Village price tags or anything on it, but it's a little bit beaten up, but it plays quite nice. The cover's a little, got some ring wear, etc. But again, going back to some Marauder, I could do a whole top 10 of Marauder films probably, but this is Battlestar Galactica. I didn't even realize how funky and synth wave Battlestar Galactica's soundtrack was. But yeah, this is you got to check out the jam. I think it's all of side 2. Evolution? Nah, yeah, side 2. Track 1, the only track on side 2 called Evolution, is a really cool funky synth jam by Giorgio Moroder. So I think this came out in the 70s. This is 1978 on Casablanca. And I got that really cheap. How much exactly? I don't remember, but I know I got that. It was like a good cheap find. Last but not least, show something soundtrack or movie related that is not a standard vinyl record or CD. Well, I already showed a VHS tape. Let me see here. Why don't we also show a couple of music DVDs as well? Maestro, which is all about the Paradise Garage and the story of Larry Levan. New York City club legend, kind of co-invented house music in some ways with Frankie Knuckles later on. But yeah, just an old school DJ. And really famous New York City club, the Paradise Garage. It's all in that movie, Maestro. Double disc too, with some bonus interviews. Or I Dream of Wires, keeping on that synth theme of some of the picks today. I Dream of Wires is a really great documentary all about modular synths. You know, those crazy machines with all the wires sticking out of them. Yeah, and making some cool sounds, noises, beats, and music even once in a while with those synthesizers. This is I Dream of Wires, the hardcore edition. This came out in 2013. If you haven't seen this movie, definitely check it out. They talk about the Buchla as well and some of the origins of synth music. They also talk about Wendy Carlos that I showed earlier too. So that is going to wrap my soundtrack picks for 2025, the soundtrack tag 2025. Hope everybody's having a good holiday out there, and I'll see you guys on the next one.